This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to a Thursday edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante, and the 2022 Major League Baseball regular season is just around the cornball because Rob Manfred led us all to believe we were coming back. The owners were making progress, using Bob Nightingale as their mouthpiece, sticking their hands inside Bob Nightingale's body and moving his mouth around like this. Where does the hand start? How does it get up there? That's for you to decide. I got to keep my job. Bob told us all they were making progress on a deal. A bunch of people agreed they were making progress on a deal on Monday night. It was, right? So a lot of people stayed up. A lot of people wanted to be awake when the 2022 regular season was finally blessed. A lot of people wanted to be there for the big moment. I was ready for Yankees. I thought about Yankees baseball on Monday night in a real sense, not in a sense where I'm talking about the past or I'm just bringing up something I remember from my childhood. I started to think about Yankees baseball for real for the first time in a long time on Monday night. Woke up on Tuesday, still feeling optimistic, seeing it hadn't gotten done yet. And as the day went on, boy, oh boy, had the wool been pulled up over my eyes very slightly. We're going to talk about all that, of course, as well as the Yankees hiring of Hensley Mullins to fill out their coaching staff. It's not a normal third hitting coach to have. And then, of course, Joey Gallo, who's doing a great job during the lockout. And as well, we're going to talk about what happens to the New York Yankees schedule. Of course, this could all be irrelevant in a matter of days as more games get ticked off the clock. But for now, here's what we know about 2022. Folks, make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Drop us a 5-star review along with a mailbag question. We'll be more than happy to answer it and give us your time live on YouTube Mondays and Tuesdays. Because it was 2 o'clock Eastern. So Tuesdays, it's Mondays and Thursdays, but it's 2 o'clock Eastern. Thomas Carinante had this depressing note on my desk. We're in the office today. It's been a while. Adam, baseball is back. Signed Anthony. Now, I don't know Anthony. He's somebody I think was trying to work with us 2 years ago because this note is from February 2020. Another time when baseball was not back at all. Not back now. Wasn't back then. There is a coronavirus pandemic. In 2020, the pandemic that we knew nothing about, that seemed like the most communicable disease that has ever spread, that was killing people silently and secretly back in February and March before we shut everything down. Terrifying and a scary reason to lose a baseball season. You had to do it. People couldn't be contacting each other. We can't be having people in close spaces. We can't be having players in clubhouses. We can't be having any of that. We had to shut baseball down. We ended up with a truncated season. This year, the NFL, today on Thursday, took away their COVID protocols for the future. Is there still a pandemic out there? Yeah, it's a concern, but it is certainly not a reason to cancel baseball. And after I watched it cancel baseball in 2020, and now watching what is currently canceling baseball in 2022, $30 million difference between two parties, bad faith ownership, it's more embarrassing than ever. And I'm going to rip this note while you start speaking. Because baseball's not back.
And watching, and the sad part about what happened the other night, everyone, was that was our first real taste of actual off-season stuff. We had never gotten the thrill that we're usually treated to with late nights, late night free agency, late night trades, winter meetings, all that. So this was our little off-season moment where everyone was getting a little bit excited. You were getting geared up. I will say though, a large majority of Twitter was taking Bob Nightingale's updates with a grain of salt, and I thought it was very funny. Mm-hmm. I had excitement geared up within me, but I was very cautiously optimistic about it because it felt too good to be true. Just given everything that's happened up until this point. And then you see the stuff that comes out afterward where it's like, yeah, why did I even get fooled? I got fooled a little bit because I wanted to be excited, because I wanted to feel good, because I'm sick of not feeling good about this. And you don't want it to rule your life as, being a baseball fan and loving the sport and loving the players that you follow and loving your team. But we never should have ever had positive feelings, because these owners are clearly operating with some sort of malicious intent. Ross Stripling, former Los Angeles Dodger, current Toronto Blue Jay, who screamed at his teammate last year while he played the Yankees, yelled at Joe Panic during that game because he made that error on a Giancarlo Stanton grounder, in case you don't remember. Came out and said that at midnight. They were negotiating on Monday beyond midnight, and the owners were trying to sneak some provisions in fine print, and to get it by the players to get the deal that they had preferred. He didn't go into specifics about what it was, but he was essentially saying they were kind of playing it off like we were just dumb jocks, dumb athletes who didn't know how to negotiate or know anything about important topics or economics or workers' rights, all that type of stuff. They just thought, oh, they're baseball players. They lift weights, they play a sport for a living, and that's that. So, and then when you realize, and then you see Rob Manfred, I know a lot of the snapshots have depicted him as this kind of jackass because he was smiling before officially announcing the first 2 series of the season were canceled.
Practicing his golf swing.
Yeah, practicing his golf swing, like not addressing the media beforehand, just in passing. Oh, yeah, we're working on it. Yeah, no shit, you're working on it, dude, because it needs to be worked on. And it's now 3 months too late that it's being worked on. So, like, why don't you stop for 2 minutes and say something to a reporter to not look like a clown? Everybody is calling him a clown, and they're probably right. I will reserve my insults for off the air if you guys are okay with that. But and then you look at just the world in a greater scope. You have Russia, Ukraine. It's a very troubling situation. Everybody's feeling badly about it. And then you have the owners who are trying to pull this stuff and manipulate the employees and the people who work for them, who make them all this money. And you think about baseball and you're like, what does baseball even matter? What does baseball even matter at this point? World relations are not great. And then the owners are going to try to do this to make a few extra $1 million. Rob Manfred once again comes out and talks about the riskiness of owning an MLB team. And there was some crazy stat that they had appreciated, or they had profited, I think $10 billion since 2016. He was saying like the last 5 years have been very rough on the owners, and there's been a collective profit of $10+ billion. So the definition of bad faith negotiations, the definition of lying to the media, this stuff is all easily researchable. So you know how badly it's gotten, and you know how angry if I'm one of the players at this point, I'm willing to cancel the season. I'm willing to not do anything, because if this is how they're going to act, then they are going to I would make it a point to be like, okay, great. You don't want baseball? I won't get a paycheck for a year. Let's see how many profits you truly lose out on. Because you complained during COVID, you got a 60-game season, you made some of that money back, you had playoffs, you had World Series, you had your TV deals for at least a third of the year. How about nothing? How about nothing this time around? Nothing for some of the players would be absolutely detrimental, but they have to make a point, because future generations are going to be affected by this. The next 5, what are CBAs? Usually 5 years. I know some are longer.
This one was before 2017, right?
Yeah, so it was 5-6 years, but like that's a long time. And if you're not negotiating the proper minimum salaries, if you're not negotiating the proper arbitration, the arbitration process, if you're not getting more bonuses or more cost of living raises or more inflation raises for players as time goes on, then in 5 years it's going to be even worse, as it is now for the middle and lower class of players. So, and now the Yankees, if we want to get into more Yankees talk now, sure. First 7 games of the season are out: 4 against the Rangers, 3 against the Astros. The silver lining here, it was a 7-game road trip to open up the year. What could be cool if the season started on April 7th, which is what it's projected to do right now, which it won't, by the way. It will be May 1st at the earliest. It would be opening day at Yankee Stadium against the Boston Red Sox. Pretty cool. Would be pretty fun. But if we're going to dive into a little bit about how the first 2 series kind of affect the Yankees, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, because we might not even have a season. But this is a bummer for a couple of reasons. One, the Rangers, the Yankees typically handle the Rangers fairly well in the regular season. I know the Rangers have upgraded, but they still have a very bad pitching staff.
Yeah.
They do have a better lineup, but the Yankees pitching was very good. So you have to think on paper, okay, this would be a solid matchup. Yankees probably win this series. Okay, maybe. I don't know. And then you talk the Astros series. Astros, we like playing the Astros. I like playing the Astros, except for when they absolutely force us to melt down. But I like the energy in the regular season. I like that. I like all the discourse on the games. And don't forget, the Astros and the Yankees were separated by 3 games last year. And the Astros had supposedly a very, very, very good season. The Yankees did not. They were 3 games apart. 2 of those games were the biggest meltdowns you've ever seen. The 8th inning home run at Yankee Stadium by Jose Altuve, and then the 9th inning home run, 6-7 run 9th inning at Minute Maid Park right before the All-Star break. So these teams really are not far off. I'm not saying they're going to tie, and the head-to-head tiebreaker will play a role later on in the season, but you have to think those head-to-head matchups will play some sort of role in potential playoff seeding, and now the Yankees are losing 3 of those games. So say what you want. I know Astros fans will probably be like, oh, you don't want to play us anyway, you jackasses, all that. But I would want to play the Astros because I think those are valuable head-to-head games. And the Astros, if you ask me, the Yankees have their core intact. The Astros, they're losing Correa. Zach Greinke has been a big part of that pitching staff. I know he wasn't as good last year, but he still provided very good depth. And Kendall Graveman's gone. So the bullpen has taken 2 hits this offseason. So the Yankees would have been in good position, in my opinion, there, and those would have been valuable wins early in the season. Now they're not getting any of them. So that's my but it's not going to matter, guys. I'm just talking in the moment for the sake of not predicting more pessimistic stuff. That's what we're looking at, but we're not going to have baseball till May. So
I am not quite aligned on being joyful to play the Astros. I'm not exactly playing the world's smallest violin to dump the Astros from the early part of the 2022 schedule. I will also say that my immediate reaction was, we're canceling 2 series? That sucks. Wait, the Yankees were supposed to play the Rangers and Astros on the road? That also sucks. Who did this to us?
Yeah,
that's
why?
horrible. And then coming home to play the Red Sox for the 3rd series, that's 3 crazy series to start the 2022 calendar. That's now become only 1. I will also say, terrible news, Major League Baseball games are being canceled. Great news, Boston Red Sox games are being canceled. They lose 2 home series to start the year. So,
One of them was the Rays, though. I was looking forward to that. And if you really want to get into what happened last year, other one was the O's, who swept them at Fenway to open the season last year.
That's true. But also counterpoint, cry more.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of when something weird about the 2019 season. It's like the outlier in all of these seasons where 2018 Red Sox destroyed us, even though we won 100 games. It was like, it wasn't even close. 2019, we absolutely flipped the script. The Red Sox looked terrible, and they lost 2 Fenway Park home games to the Yankees London series. So 2 of the games where we'd have to go to Fenway were just overseas, and they were being played so clearly with a rocket ball in like a jet stream. Nobody could get anybody out. Nobody could control their pitches. One of those games, the Yankees almost blew a 17-6 lead, I think. It might have been 17-8, but it became 17-13 with the bases loaded or something. And the second game, the Yankees were down like 3-2 and ended up winning it. I want to say 13-10, and the bases were also loaded at the end of that. I mean, those games just never ended. They were football games. But the last time that rivalry really felt right was when the Red Sox got home games robbed from them. It wouldn't be a Yanks Go Yard podcast without just a mysterious 2-minute dip into talking about how the Red Sox are negatively affected by something and how that's kind of good. But obviously, I do not think the lockout is good. I will just say that I am distressed to lose any games, whether they were competitive or whether they were, I'm not excited that that's the way the Yankees schedule is supposed to open, but I would rather play it than not play it. The Yankee schedule seems to start tough more often than not. And you're right, I'm not optimistic for anything sooner than May 1st. I think it's very obvious that Rob Manfred and the owners, certain sect of owners, have no interest in playing before May 1st. And if they could get rid of April baseball in general, they probably would. I think they wake up every day, at least some of them, wondering why this sport ever started in April. Whose genius idea was it to knock off this part of the calendar? And never mind that it's a part of Americana and a part of tradition. And not to go even further than that, but, a lot of what Republican senators and Republican government officials are always talking about, let's get back to the 50s, return to, when everything was pastoral or whatever. And these 80-year-old Republican billionaires who own MLB teams are like, the 50s, everyone there was dumb. Like, no baseball in April. It's incredibly stupid to do that. Tradition sucks. Let's cancel all tradition. So that's also some real bullshit. And the fact that they were trying to slide all those provisions in there that sorry, I went to check out the live chat.
Yeah, that was good.
Not exactly. I'm not going to read these comments on the air. Anyone who wants to look at them can look at them. Not real legitimate comments. But the fact that, May 1st, I'm not optimistic for. I feel like that is the earliest fulcrum, but people have said it before. It's not something I'm pulling out of thin air. Not only is Jackie Robinson Day on April 15th, but it's the 75th anniversary of Jackie Robinson actually breaking the color barrier. Right. Every anniversary of Jackie Robinson doing that is noteworthy and worth celebrating. There's a reason we wear 42 on our backs on that day. But the 75th anniversary, and not just 75, which is a number you all know. We remember the 50th anniversary. It was when they retired Jackie's number. It was Bill Clinton at Shea Stadium. Rachel Robinson was there. It was a huge deal. It was the first year that baseball really took this seriously. 75th is the diamond anniversary. Baseball diamond anniversary. We're really going to not have baseball on April 15th. So I know Rob Manfred and his cabal of owners, and I don't know who these people are. John Henry, was brought to my attention, is not even in America right now, the Red Sox owner. He's overseas having a European vacation. Maybe he's double dating with Bill Belichick and Linda Holiday on a weird boat called 7 Rings, 6 Stolen, or whatever the name of that boat is. But some people clearly don't care. The Northeast owners, I would say, are probably first and foremost. That probably includes our boy, too. They're not exactly enamored with playing April baseball when the school's not out. And they've seen what it looks like. Yankee Stadium in June, July, August, packed at night, packed during the day, Saturday 1 o'clock home games. And you watch the April games, and there's 22,000 people here, but it looks more like 8,000, and it's 32 degrees in the bleachers. So I think we should play, unpopular opinion, I think we should play all those games because I love baseball. But it seems like ownership has no intention of starting the season on time and never did, and is going to. I am not as pessimistic about the season in general. I don't think we're looking at an axed year or a lost campaign. But I think it's realist to say that these owners had no intention of playing the start of the year. Many players have said as much. Wilson Contreras said it today. Jason Hayward said it in a very introspective Instagram post yesterday. They're not hiding the game. It's become very overwrought to say they're saying the quiet part out loud, but they're absolutely doing that. They set a deadline that needed to be met to have games start at the start of the regular season, right? But where'd that deadline come from? No player said we require a 1-month ramp up before regular season baseball begins. It's just sort of a rough estimate the owners threw out, and they extended it once from Monday to Tuesday because they were trying to make everyone think they had a chance of getting a deal done, even though the player said, no way, you're sliding stuff into the CBA we've never seen before. Our tone hasn't changed. You just keep saying that our tone has changed. They thought they were getting close, in quote. They wanted to make it seem like they were getting close. So they extended their fake deadline. Then they met their fake deadline and blew past it. And then all of a sudden, Rob Manfred says, oh, no, we passed the deadline that doesn't exist. So I guess we have to cancel the first 2 series of the year. It's been 2 days since then. They're having an informal meeting in New York today. That's not why we're in office, but I wish it was. But 2 days, they just let 2 more days go off the clock after 43 days went off the clock. So if you're trying to get baseball back by April 15th, which you're not trying to do, you would be hurrying up a little bit. If you're trying to get it back by May 1st, you're working at a fine pace.
Yeah, I thought it could have been a ploy maybe for the owners to maybe bring to the players' attention that playing April sucks and they don't want to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't agree with that. I don't really care. If they want to shorten the season a little bit and expand the playoffs, like, okay, maybe then you're changing the intrinsic value of the game of playing 162 games, and you're changing how records are achieved and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
The meeting is over, actually. Breaking news.
Oh, there you go.
90-minute meeting between the MLB and the MLBPA. I'm sure that did it. I bet we're about to get a season announcement. Yeah.
Well, I can't somebody's got to explain this to me, whether it's a naked pics person in the chat or you. I don't understand how the reporting went down. There were those reporters behind a chain link fence, and then it was like, what was Bob Nightingale doing? Just running from stadium to stadium? because they were in two different places.
Yeah.
Right. They weren't in the same room, and they were sending people. They were moving. They were going to separate in their own quarters to discuss stuff. And then someone would be getting information here, relaying it over there. So like, what was that archaic? Like that was like Aristotle's scribe from 600 BC, like just recording information and delivering it to swaths of people behind a chain link fence, trying to figure, these people also like trying to get autographs and like maybe tailgating in the middle of this parking lot
from Bob Nightingale. Bob Nightingale signing autographs.
What is going on? How did this come to be a thing? It's like that adds to the comedy of this theater. Like they can't even have a reporter on site, like responsibly disseminating information to the public, which the public has a right to know, with what's going on here, because the public funds all of these endeavors, whether it's the owners, whether it's the players, whether it's the stadiums with taxes and everything. So they can't even get on the same page with relaying information about a negotiation, and then they're going to use somebody to lie and then deal with the fallout after that. It's just the priorities are so out of whack. Everything is so ass backwards with this league. And they're not going to lose me as a fan because I love baseball, but they're losing people. They're losing more and more people because you look around the other major sports and the NFL, they figure it out. They've catered to players in a multitude of ways. I know there's still work to be done there, but NBA is probably the most powerful league. Players can literally do whatever they want. You see people sit out until they get trades. You see players sit out for load management because, hey, I don't want to play 82 games. I want to be ready for the playoffs and fresh. So I'm going to play 60, and then I'm going to dominate in June when all the games matter. So every other league, I don't know what the NHL, I don't know what the NHL situation is, but we've even seen the NCAA, the worst of them all, make strides in various departments. And MLB is just so behind, and they're going to the only thing that they have going for them is, we're the only sport that dishes out $250, $300 million contracts. Yeah, and there's only a handful of them. So that's no longer an argument for you. But the image here and how the owners kind of dominate the discourse as opposed to the players who are the workers has to, if you're a diehard NFL fan and you're like, part-time baseball guy, huge Giants fan, but I follow the Yankees. I like the Yankees. Or, I like the Mets. You have to be laughing at Major League Baseball right now, or just be like, this is what you invest your life into. Okay, dude.
When you're talking about the NBA and playing 60 games, Rob Manfred's ears just perked up. He was like, what? You can do that? 60 games? Really? That's a possibility? People still watch that sport? You sure? All this being devoted to this league. Again, I'll be back. I'm not saying I'm not going to be back. Yeah. I'm not going to stand in front of here and be like, I'm done. I renounced baseball today. I'm no longer a baseball fan. It's infuriating to watch, but of course I'll be back. This is the number one thing I've cared about and talked about since I was 6. But even my enthusiasm is waning, and that goes towards the Yankees too. I care about the Yankees more as they prove they care about me. I've certainly lost some enthusiasm from 18 to 19 to 20 to 21 when I watch Hal Steinbrenner make these monetary decisions. When I watch Aaron Boone get a 3-year contract instead of a 1-year. When I watch Aaron Boone get job security. When I watch Brian Cashman have eternal job security. When every year I watch this team go 45% of the way that contenders typically go, while I watch the Dodgers go all the way every season. The Padres go all the way every season. And the Red Sox trip ass backwards in whatever they do. But most of the time, they're spending too. We're spending. It's just never the right amount. So, of course, my enthusiasm for the Yankees has absolutely waned. And I don't think that's just because I am older now. I think that's because I'm watching what's happening. If the people don't care about me, I don't care about them so much. And that certainly goes for the sport of baseball too, because I'll be back. I will absolutely be back. But watching a loss isn't worth it to me anymore, where it might have been when I was younger. Now I just don't have, if the Yankees are down 7-2 in the 5th inning, I'm not going to watch that game. If I check my phone and see the Yankees are down 3-0 in the first, I'm probably not going to turn that game on either. I'm going to follow it. I'll watch it late. But at this point, the pain that comes from putting myself through watching a loss is not worth it because I don't care about the gain as much as I used to. And that's just it. If the most important game of the season, of course, I'm there 2 hours early. Got my jacket on and I'm in my apartment. But tough looking loss during the regular season.
No.
probably not going to watch, probably just going to absorb it. And if we ultimately win, then that's fantastic. But you're not going to lose me. You're going to lose plenty of other people. Now on to actual news. I don't know why we got this when we got this, by the way. We got this right as the season was disintegrating. Or I guess people were talking about pulling the season back together. It was right at that. It was right when the Bob Nightingale stuff was getting fed to us. The fake scoops, the real scoops, the non-scoops, the mouthpiece stuff. The Yankees finally got their third hitting coach. In addition to Dylan Lawson, the official hitting coach, promoted minor league coordinator, and Casey Dykes, another minor league promotion. The third hire, we heard they wanted someone experienced, major league experience. Of course, they made that third hire. It was Eric Chavez. He left for the New York Mets. We did not stop him. Very interesting that we did not do that, but is what it is. All the names in the aftermath of Eric Chavez leaving were hilarious and strange. All of them had major league experience, but Mark Trumbo, first time I've heard of him as a coach, found out he retired when he was involved in the discussion for the Yankees job. Eric Hinsky was the favorite for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, a nice guy I would welcome into the clubhouse, but objectively, they seem to be pretty enthusiastic about Chavez, and I don't know what if Hinsky's, I don't know what qualifies him to make them just as enthusiastic. It felt like kind of just like a boisterous, rub some dirt on it guy. Didn't really jive with the rest of the hitting philosophy. Devin Mesoraco at some point we're eyeing, another guy I found out retired because he's involved in this assistant hitting coach search. Then all of a sudden we hire Hensley Mullins to be that third hitting coach in the trio, the assistant role. Dylan Lawson's still the head man. He's one of his two assistants. You may remember Hensley Mullins from being Bam Bam Mullins, from being a Yankees rookie in the early 90s, late 80s, top prospect. Didn't do much at the major league level, but was a Yankee for several years. You may remember him from being the San Francisco Giants hitting coach during their mini dynasty of 10, 12, and 14. And perhaps most importantly, you may remember him from interviewing for the Yankees managerial job in 2017 that Aaron Boone ultimately got, and probably being the best candidate for that job. Not receiving it for whatever reason. He worked. He also managed the Netherlands teams in the World Baseball Classic with Didi and, yes, Andrelton Simmons and Xander Bogaerts. Decidedly overqualified for this job. And no discussion of this role change would be complete without saying that, again, he interviewed for the 2017 job and has now been brought into the organization. So there were only 6 interviews, as far as I can tell, that were completed during that 2017 search. 2 of them have been hired by the Yankees this offseason. Mullins is the third hitting assistant, Carlos Beltran in the Yes Network booth, and Luis Rojas, who was a major league manager last year, is also now on Aaron Boone's coaching staff. So if the coaching staff was the problem last year, we've got some experience in the building now. All new hitting coach staff, including a potential manager of the future. There's a manager from last season at Aaron Boone's right hand, and there was another Yankees managerial candidate in the building for 1/3 of the home games, probably providing analysis on each and every one of Aaron Boone's decisions in much the same way Buck Showalter did last year in the postgame show, which later got him hired as the New York Mets manager. So Hensley Mullins, big deal for many reasons.
Yeah, and a little bit awkward because Mullins was the Mets bench coach for the 2020 season, and then was fired after that season as an apparent scapegoat because the Mets had to do something, because I don't know if they wanted Luis Rojas at that point. And Luis Rojas was fired after 2021, and then he came over to the Yankees. So interesting dynamic there with Luis Rojas and Hensley Mullins. I don't know a whole lot about Mullins. I know the bullet point list that you kind of went down. But the greater conversation here that has significance is the tremendous, for the most part, experience on this staff. Better than that they've had with Aaron Boone, I think. So does that sound the alarm bells on what might happen to Aaron Boone if there's another underachieving season, or if they're producing in some ways and then they're, look, if the Yankees didn't have one of the worst offensive seasons collectively that we've seen for a team of this caliber, it's still a fine offensive season, but once again, expectations a little bit different when you have star players who should be a lot better than they are. Something's got to give. Something's up. I don't know. Okay, maybe they dealt with bad injury luck. Maybe they just had an unlucky year. Things happen. But if you're talking about going into a season now, and say the defense picks up and say the offense produces the way it does. But what if the Yankees lose those games that we get so infuriated with because it seems like there's a lack of managerial instinct or baseball gumption? Does that, and maybe it happens later in the year, maybe it happens in the postseason, does that weigh into the team's decision-making after the year with Aaron Boone? That's kind of what I got out of it, maybe. Or maybe they're just trying to bolster the staff around Aaron Boone because they're confident in what Aaron Boone can do with more knowledge and talent around him. I don't know. But when you think about it, if you're truly looking to improve all these elements of the game and all of those elements of the game theoretically improve, and you're left with a guy who's making the wrong pitching decisions or constructing the lineup not really optimally, and things like that, could weigh into it, because we look at Aaron Boone's contract. What was it? 4 years? 4 years?
It's 3 years now.
With an option
we
again?
reset it. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
We'll see a lot of Aaron Boone.
Yeah, and everyone's like, I mean, yeah, we might. Everyone's bugging out there. They're like, oh, he's going to be here for another 4 years. It's like, no, he could be gone after next year. Like, it doesn't anything. You know what the Yankees are going to do? They're not going to give somebody a 1 year extension because it's not. It's going to create more conversation.
That doesn't happen. Nope.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
It's going to be 2 or 3.
Yeah. So you knew they had to do a multi-year deal. You know, a 2-year deal might have created some questions, because then that would have led people to believe, oh, so if he's bad in the first year, they'll just get rid of him before the second. That's a lot easier to kind of cope with. And then you think 3 or 4, and you're like, okay, we probably got at least 2 years of Aaron Boone. So that shuts the people up. But I'm not shutting up. I will not shut up. I still think there's a possibility here. If things go south, if they have all these new minds and talents and resources in the building surrounding the guy making all of the executive decisions. So he says, he claims he's not a puppet. So if he's not the puppet and all of these people are alongside him, what happens if we don't win the division? What happens if we don't get to the ALCS? Something to think about.
I do think it's very funny. You mentioned that the Mets fired Hensley Mullins because they were looking for some sort of scapegoat for the Luis Rojas situation. Well, how much longer did it take for Luis Rojas to get fired? Not much.
I mean, they wanted him out like halfway through the year of 2021.
And so the difference is the Yankees clearly don't want Boone out at this juncture, but it's not like firing the scapegoat has been proven to be a permanent solution.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we made a scapegoat firing and then the manager was extended for a decade and everybody was happy. So the Mets fired Hensley Mullins and then basically immediately fired Luis Rojas. The Yankees did the scapegoat firing last offseason. They fired Marcus Timms. DJ LeMahieu said, we feel like shit. We feel so bad that we did that, but we did do that. They also fire Phil Nevin. They lose Reggie Willits to some sort of demotion. A class, I wasn't fired. I quit to be the Alabama outfield assistant. Yeah. Okay, bro. Yeah,
for a volunteer.
Yeah, an unpaid internship position with the Alabama baseball team. Yeah, right. Wink, not fired. But the Yankees lost a lot of coaches last year, and that was sort of, they put the onus on the players. Hal Steinbrenner said it. Brian Cashman said it. They said, these guys aren't hitting. These guys are not performing. Brian Cashman before the deadline said, we suck right now, right? So you feel like they're going to blame it on the players, and then they do a scapegoat firing anyway. They get rid of the coaching staff that did not help these players reach their full potential. So we've blamed the players. We have made the firing to pave the way for Aaron Boone's dismissal if things do not get better. And again, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. We just saw the Mets cut bait on Luis Rojas basically immediately after they cut bait on Hensley Mullins. So just some food for thought there. Let's have a little palate cleanser before we sign off. Like olives in a salad, Joey Gallo's LinkedIn page was just a beautiful addition to an otherwise bleak hellscape of a week. The players are funny, folks. The owners are not funny. The players are funny. I think it's important that we note that, as you can pick whatever side you want to. I have not heard an owner say anything interesting. The funniest thing that side did was Rob Manfred doing the golf swing. That was legit funny, but not on purpose. It's like a nervous tick. Somebody tweeted that would be something that Larry David would get in trouble for, like practicing his golf swing during an important union meeting. I agree. It is definitely something Larry David would do, and also the commissioner of Major League Baseball would do, because he did do it. You don't want to give him a photo op. You just don't want to do that. Rob Manfred gave him a Daily News back cover.
Yeah. And you're not a golfer, so you don't. Marco Gonzalez, the Mariners pitcher, quote tweeted that picture and said, it was like Rob Manfred probably uses iron covers. Iron covers, if you're a golfer, is just like a big no-no. I'm a huge golfer. You're like a loser if you do that. If I'm allowed to,
you're basically like,
you don't want, you see that guy like, before, usually you go to a golf course, you get matched up with a bunch of people. You see that guy on the putting green and you think he's going to be in your group. You're like, fuck, I got iron cover guy. This guy sucks. And then
when you said Marco, I thought you were going to say Marco Mera. Like Marco Mera said, Rob Manfred can't golf. Fuck, I missed that. That would have been great. But yeah, Rob Manfred, not a golfer, big time idiot. The players are funny on purpose, though. The players are funny on purpose. The owners are not funny on purpose. And Jameson Taillon and Joey Gallo have both expressed willingness to get a new job during this pandemic, during this MLB lockout, during this ongoing struggle. Jameson Taillon, big coffee guy, said he was looking for employment, trying to be a barista. He hit up Blue Bottle, which actually, Jameson, I do know someone who is a pretty high up executive at Blue Bottle. If you want to talk, I can actually probably make that connection and help that get sorted. If you want to come on the podcast, that'd be great. But Taillon expressed interest maybe being a barista. I don't know how many hours you want to take on. I don't know if you could take on a partial shift at a job like that. Again, the service industry stuff is really tough. So it's not like something you could just do as a one-off and you can, make a mockery of it. It's really not easy. Jameson Taillon, I hope you know what you're getting into if you actually do. And if you're serious, I can help. Joey Gallo is sort of casting a wider net. He created a LinkedIn page for what appears to be the first time. You'd assume he's got his full employment history on there. I actually didn't see anything beyond professional baseball history, and he didn't quite break it down as granular as he could have. He doesn't have like the Hickory Crawdads on there. He doesn't have the All-Star team on there. Joey, if I have some resume advice, I would bump the All-Star teams up. Put those at the top. I want the first line of the resume to be New York Yankees X-time MLB All-Star. I want my boss to be like, oh my God, All-Star. Tell me about your time at the All-Star game. That seems like it must have been very rewarding for you. And then I have I have a ready-made answer right up top. But Joey Gallo put work experience. He's got the Yankees on there, just 8 months with the Yankees. And honestly, some of that's off season. So if I were interviewing you again, I would say, well, Joey, that's a little misleading, right? July 2021 to present. What were you guys doing in October 2021? He's like, losing the wild card game, just mostly sitting around. It's like, buddy, that's not a work month. But he's got June 2012 to 2021 with the Rangers. That's 9 full years in the organization. He's got his high school stats on there, but the skills section is the most important part because he really did take trolling himself to the next level, addressed basically everything he's faced this offseason in one fell swoop in 3 bullet points. I don't know if he did this himself or recommended it. Skills, striking out, hitting into the shift, getting dressed weird. Hitting into the shift, of course, he complained about that. And there might be a 2023 rule change where we ban the shift. So, Joey, that's something that your employer might take to heart. Thanks for putting it out there. Skills, striking out. That's basically a response to everybody who says that's all he does. Well, he's good at it. So why wouldn't he put it on his resume or his LinkedIn page? And getting dressed weird is basically like a Yankees reporter leaking this offseason that he has OCD. So I don't know why it was news that Joey Gallo is particular about the way his pants get laid out. But at least he's able to laugh about it too. And my top 3 special skills, probably not. Would I have included the modifier weird? Probably not. I would have said my skill is getting dressed. And if someone said, well, how is that a skill? I would have said, I neatly lay out my pants. I'm very meticulous. And they want to go, okay, interesting, fine. What stood out to you here? And would you hire Joey Gallo? Because we are hiring from time to time. And I don't know if Q2 Joey Gallo strikes you as someone who might be a part of this team or at least a culture fit.
Yeah, I wonder. I like it. I like this is the personality the Yankees need, man. And I'd take Joey Gallo on the pod. Maybe maybe he does some op-eds for us and he strikes down what the fans have misconstrued or misconceived, whatever it may be. That could be a fit. I don't see any writing skills on here. He also sold himself short, only calling himself an outfielder for the Texas Rangers when he played a multitude of positions. So Joey, come on, dude, you gotta, look, LinkedIn, not a sexy place, but you can make it sexy, not inappropriate sexy, but you can make yourself look a lot more important than you actually are. People go, you see people beefing up their social media skills to sound like, they're running 7 tweet decks at a time and running, operating the Twitter account for, a billionaire or something. Everything's over exaggerated. Everything's overdone. The easiest way to put it. Joey could have actually done a little bit more on that front, I think. But I like the humor, man, because that piece for him, that piece about him earlier in the offseason, I've criticized Joey Gallo just because I wasn't sure that this was a fit the Yankees needed. The same thing kind of came up this offseason when that anonymous scout or anonymous executive was like, do we even vet people's personalities before they walk through this door? Like, does Brian Cashman even care about that? And then they talked about him laying out his jersey. He liked to have it ironed, apparently, didn't like any wrinkles. Hey, Adam and I sometimes look like slobs at work or, at home. If you're going to iron your clothes, steam your clothes in the AM, working from the living room, that's a plus for me. Do your hair. I did my hair today. I was feeling it. But if Joey's doing that every day, I think employers should be looking at that. I'm glad he was able to laugh about it, because I'd be pissed if that shit came out about me and then people were questioning my fit on a team because of the way I like to put on my belt, or some particular ritual I had before. Again, none of your business, dude. What if those rituals were helping him hit? If those rituals are helping him hit 40 home runs, what does it matter what he's doing? As long as he's not hurting anybody or doing anything like super creepy, it doesn't matter. So I like that he kind of brought it full circle, because a lot of us forgot about that piece because of all the things that have happened over the last few months, overshadowing more granular Yankee stuff. And I like this. I like Yankees players coming out, expressing their personalities a little bit more. I really like the Aaron Judge interview with R2C2. I thought that was great. I want more of that. I want more players going out, talking about their situations, being candid, showing who they are, expressing certain characteristics that you don't necessarily see when they're on the field, or ones that we assume. We've done a lot of assuming over the last couple of years because nobody's in the clubhouse. Nobody is relaying information. So you just look at body language on the field. You look at general performance on the field. You look at all these other facial expressions. It goes on and on about how many assumptions you can make based on just little cues here and there. And maybe we've gotten the wrong idea. I do not know. But as long as more players come out and talk, express sense of humor, not even sense of humor. They could be angry people. They could be sad people. They could be fun people, whatever it is. I want something that's discernible here that I could work with so I can know the players. It's more fun rooting for your team when you know who players are personally.
Yeah.
I don't like not knowing who people are. It's not fun. You develop no connection. It turns into just a faceless thing where it's like, why am I even rooting for this team? I don't even know these guys. They're just guys who hit baseballs and pitch balls. What value is that? They just wear the laundry, and then that's the laundry I'm rooting for. So I like knowing players. I like the little turnaround we've had this offseason with these players. Joey Gallo, I think that was a little bit of a coming out thing for him. I know he did blast that report the moment it came out with a quote tweet. But now that he's doing it again, and making light of a tough situation for all baseball fans, is a positive. Shows that he's a humorous guy, shows that, hey, maybe he can let loose a little bit next year in New York in the dugout or in front of the fans, because now everyone kind of knows, or at least the younger generations know a little bit more what he's about based on what he did on social media. So it sounds dumb. It really does sound dumb. It's like, oh, dude, tweet a couple times to show your personality and then maybe we'll like you. But it's true, because so many people are on social media. So many people are tapped into this. It's like, just do a little bit here and there, and it changes your perception. It changes your image. So good for you, Joey. Keep putting your pants on the way you want, man.
Yeah, as long as your personality is good. If you're Trevor Bauer, don't tweet at all. Never, ever tweet or vlog ever again. I know more than I could ever possibly know about your personality. Yeah, I can't imagine how weird the pants thing could be for me to say don't continue it. There's no way. Whatever it is,
front flipping into his pants, having somebody hold him open or something, like what is
crying until an assistant coach comes out and puts them on for him. Like, yeah, that sounds disruptive. Like whining like a baby, button the top. I don't want to touch it. Like, okay, if that happens, then yeah, for sure, cut him. then someone else is running the social media. But unless it's that, I can't conceive of another thing that is pants related that is not a crime that I would say Joey Gallo deserves to be admonished for.
Yeah.
That is it. What an episode. That's it for the Yanks Go Yard podcast on this beautiful Thursday. Still no baseball. We had hope on Monday. We have no hope now for at least a while. 90-minute meeting, no proposals exchanged today. No idea how much longer this could last. They talked about the parameters for the foundation for the discussion of a new deal. Great. Again, December fucking 2nd stuff, not March 3rd. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Drop us a 5-star review along with a mailbag question. We will be more than happy to answer it. Beyond happy, extremely happy. I haven't been happy in weeks, but I will be happy to do that. Until next time, you can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carinante, where can the people find you other than live on YouTube Mondays and Thursdays at 2 o'clock Eastern time?
You can find me on Parler. No, I'm just kidding. At Tommy's_takes on Twitter. Having a great time over there. We're also on the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Adam and I are there posting articles, asking questions, engaging with people, doing all the fun stuff. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. Plenty of written content there for you to digest. Mostly lockout stuff at this point. We got some Yankees prospect stuff too. We got a cool guest next week too on the pod. Not sure if that's going to be live yet. We'll keep you posted, of course. But things are happening. Things are moving. And we're hoping that we don't have to write another article or update you with another podcast that the full first month of the season's canceled, because that's what the owner said they were willing to do. We don't want to have to do that. We want to talk about roster moves. We want to talk about free agency. We want to talk about trades, because the Yankees still have a lot to do. We can't forget about that. There's a lot to be done. So think about it over the weekend. You have Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Enjoy yourself. We'll talk to you again on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern, live, YouTube, Twitter as well. Take care, everyone.
Let's just get it all back by April 15th. And hopefully we'll be talking to you next week with some news on that. Until next time, see you, everybody.